Hi, this is Francisco Pulgar-Vidal with fkiQuality. Today I would like to speak with you about the real-world effects of low quality. When we think about the products and services that interest us, that we would like to buy, we need to reflect on the fact that they have been produced through, more often than not, processes which are themselves are fairly complex as the products and services themselves. So one of the things that we need to consider is what is the actual level of quality that each one of these steps must be at in order so that at the end of a multi-step process we may have a high quality product or service. If we were looking at just a one-step process, it would be, which actually is a very theoretical thing, we would be justified in thinking that whatever is the quality of this one step is going to be the quality of the resulting output or outcome. However, when we have a multi-step process, such as this one that has 5 steps, the quality of each one of the steps is only a small component of the overall quality. And the losses due to anything less than 100% accumulate in ways that may be surprising. And this is part of what I want to present to you in this video. We can see in the picture that processes that contain many steps may experience rapid performance losses. Let's take a look at the first column. The column on the left is telling us a number of parts or steps, beginning with 1 and all the way down to maybe 60. Now, I have chosen for the column on the right to select a certain level of quality, which is 97.725%. The reason why I did this is because this also corresponds to what would be called a 2 sigma process. But we could have chosen anything else, a process at 95% or a process step at 99%. The point here is that every single step is performing at that level of quality. So we could imagine that each one of these is performing at almost 98%, given that the number was 97.725. Now, these processes repeat themselves, and as we are going to see, the total performance is going to experience a reduction. When you look at a process that has 5 steps, again, each one of them performing at almost 98% quality, the good total output corresponds to the yield of the first step, 0.97725, multiplied by itself 5 times, or raised to the 5th power, in order to represent the total yield or the total performance of expected good results at the end of the 5 steps. And that now takes us to a value of only 89.131%, or 0.89131. When we expand the process to something perhaps a little bit more realistic, to a process that may take 10 steps, now by the same calculation, we will take the original step, 0.97725, raise it to the 10th power, which is the same as multiplying by itself this value 10 times, and now we will see a complete yield, an end-to-end yield of only about 79%. And if we were to do this yet one more time for a 20-step process, then we will see that now the yield is only about 63%, which actually has to be a very surprising effect for almost anybody, because you would not expect that 20 steps put together, where each one of them is almost 98%, would give you as a result something as poor as something close to only 60%. But that's the mathematics of the accumulation or the compounding of these yields and the overall performance loss. So with this situation where there is a decrease in the overall yield of a lengthier process, the question is then, how can we recover this performance? What can we do in order to get back to a higher level of performance? The next image shows us how we can recover high performance. And the answer may be surprisingly simple. It really is that we should reduce the number of steps. As you kind of go from the lower rows to the upper rows in this column, you will see that by reducing the number of steps, we in fact are also increasing the overall performance of the process. So in reality, what we need is a double effect. We need, on one hand, if we want to increase the yield of our overall process, we need to seek ways to reduce the number of steps that it takes to perform a certain task. One of the potential areas of reduction is all the various steps that, from a lean point of view, could be considered as wasteful. Excessive movement, excessive putting away and recovering and bringing back a certain product, saving a file and uploading a file unnecessarily, too many emails, too many production steps, which each one of them has its own possibility of being wrong and therefore of lowering our overall performance. So that's the first thing that we can do. And of course, the second thing that we can do is to move so that to improve each one of the steps so that overall the end-to-end performance would also be increased, because now you are aggregating not steps, let's say at 98%, but rather, like we can see on the image, steps that would be now, let's say, at 3 sigma performance instead of 2 sigma, and that would then allows us to increase the number of steps without losing overall performance. As you can see in this diagram, we have kind of colored in blue the area, the upper right corner of the diagram, to indicate which are the possible combinations of sigma and number of steps that gives us a very high performance of at least 97% or higher. So in summary, what we want is we want to understand what is the compounded effect of low levels of quality, or I'm calling them low levels of quality, but they could be perceived as high levels of quality if each one of us only look at that one step that we perform, instead of looking at the overall performance. So what can we do in order to improve on this? We can do 2 things. The first one is to reduce the number of steps, and the second one is to improve the quality of each one of those steps in order to get us to a high end-to-end level of performance. Thank you for your time.